Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and I think most of you have heard the news. We have a new video out from Total War, the future of Total War 3 Kingdoms, and in case you missed it, we're going to watch it together here and I'm going to talk about my thoughts on this.
It's been 2 years since the release of Total War 3 Kingdoms, and what a journey it's been.
With each of our 7 DLC releases, it's been a real pleasure to watch this game's loyal community blossom.
And in that time, we've been able to see you do what you do best: wage total war. Across all our players from over 200 countries, a total of 33 million soldiers have been splattered by trebuchets.
More than 5 million soldiers have been killed by Liu Bu,
And 8.7 million Liu Bei campaigns have been forged. We think that's pretty impressive.
and we're ecstatic that so many of you have put your powers of strategic thinking to the fearsome challenge of our game.
Now it's time to talk about the future of Three Kingdoms. With the release of Fates Divided, we've completed our content for Total War 3 Kingdoms. It's now time to turn our attention to a new project in this amazing historic tale.
Our team, who has been working from home over the past year, now has transitioned into pre-production for our next entry in the Three Kingdom universe, giving us a fresh opportunity to build on this incredible world. There are so many stories to tell, and we are so excited to be able to continue the journey with you. We'll share more of our direction and scope when we are able, but for now, we're happy to tell you that we are increasing our focus on the novel's rich cast of the characters and their individual and unique narratives, taking the core of what makes Three Kingdoms so special and pushing it further.
We're lucky at CA to have multiple projects in development at all times. This project gives us an opportunity to cement ourselves as a standalone team within the historical Total War umbrella, and continue to produce Three Kingdoms content alongside some of the other historical projects we have in the works.
As always, thank you so much for your support. Our community team will continue to share your feedback with us from our forums with the development team as we plot out the next exciting installment of Total War 3 Kingdoms.
But before we go, today we've released a substantial patch for Total War 3 Kingdoms with details on our Total War blog and our Bilibili blog as well.
As always, thank you very much for your support. 我们将会推陈出新 to farewell the old and bring in the new. Thank you.
Alrighty, so that was the news, and it might be a bit confusing because I was definitely confused when I first heard about this. So I officially heard that this video was coming out yesterday. I was kind of told that there was going to be some sort of announcement, don't know what, but aside from that, I know nothing about this project, so we're in pure speculation territory, but I can definitely clear up some of the statements here. So the most important statement in this video comes in the beginning. I think that's the one that everyone's gonna kind of focus in right away.
Now it's time to talk about the future of Three Kingdoms. With the release of Fates Divided, we've completed our content for Total War 3 Kingdoms.
Right there. So this is the first big takeaway. There will be no more DLCs, right? They said in the beginning it has already been launched 7 DLCs, so that includes the Blood DLC, that always counts as one. Yellow Turbans, the pre-release one that you can still purchase. There is 8 Princes, Mandate of Heaven, A World Betrayed, The Furious Wild, and finally Fates Divided. And that's a total of 7. Free LCs do not count. And aside from the 7 releases and the base game, that's all the content we'll see for Total War 3 Kingdoms. So a bit of sad news here, but that's not it.
It's now time to turn our attention to a new project in this amazing historic tale.
Our team, who has been working from home over the past year, now has transitioned into pre-production for our next entry in the Three Kingdom universe.
Alright, so this is the term that was super confusing, that when I heard it first yesterday, that I was really scared and also a little confused. So they never used this term before, Three Kingdom Universe. And this is probably the direction that the game is going to. So in case you guys are confused, when Three Kingdoms was first made, right, it is the next major entry for Total War games in terms of a historical Total War. So if you're familiar with how Creative Assembly is structured, they have teams that work on console games, they have teams that work on Warhammer or the fantasy universe, and they have a team that works on the historical games or historical universe. And Three Kingdom was developed by this historical team. Obviously, they have to specialize themselves for this theme, historical period. And once it was made, they might be moving on to a different historical project. But from what this is saying, the little bit of good news we have here is that because how well Three Kingdoms did as a game, they are now part of their own little universe, meaning they get
giving us a
their
fresh
own
opportunity to
production
build
team.
on this incredible world. There are so many stories to tell, and we are so excited to be able to continue the journey with you. We'll share more of our direction and scope when we are able, but for now, we're happy to tell you that we are increasing our focus on the novel's rich cast of the characters and their individual and unique narrative.
All right, let's just pause this on this beautiful artwork. So what this basically spells out to is that we're going to get Three Kingdoms 2, and they're starting pre-production on it, and they're ending all DLC. And we can speculate for a lot of reasons why they're doing this. In a sense, I think what they're basically doing is the base game obviously sells better. The Total War 3 Kingdom, the base game, sold very well for Creative Assembly. I think it's probably one of their best-selling titles in history, in their entire history. And obviously it costs a lot more than, or its pricing is a lot higher than any sort of DLCs they could make. So even if they make, let's say, expansion pack that's $18.99 or $19.99, depending on where you are, it's not going to financially mean as much as if they make a sequel to the base game, because you get the returning players, new players potentially as well. And if you look at Total War history, like historical titles in the past, all the major titles into the entry, if the first one did well, they got a second entry, right? We have Shogun 2, we have Rome 2, Medieval 2, and this is going to be another one of those games. And there are games that didn't do so well, or they didn't become their own universe, right? We have Napoleon, and then we have the sagas, which is definitely a fresh take. I mean, it's only been named sagas in the recent years. Like you have Thrones of Britannia, Attila, you have, I mean, now I think Fall of the Samurai is considered a saga, but that doesn't really count. And we have Troy. So basically, in a sense, it's saying that Three Kingdom did well enough for the company to dedicate the group that worked on the game into their own standalone production team. So now we're going to have a dedicated team that will only work on Three Kingdom content in the future, rather than shifting the team over to the next historical title. If you guys are familiar with Creative Assembly, they have been expanding rather quickly in recent years in Great Britain. They are now the biggest gaming developer in Great Britain, I believe, by size, and they're still looking to expand to doing other projects. So this is really not a big surprise given Three Kingdom's success. The major surprise is that support for Three Kingdom 1 is probably coming to an end. They might patch up a few things, but I don't expect any major changes. And if we're going to speculate on what 2 will be like, given by what Lulu just said, they're going to be more focused on the novel's character stories, and that's probably a good thing. I think one thing for most players, especially new players to the scene, what they struggle with the game in terms of getting engaged with the game is that they don't know who's who, right? I have the luxury of knowing the history behind a lot of these characters. So if I'm jumping into what's technically a pure sandbox game, right now Three Kingdom have a few guided missions in the early stages of the game, but they're not really narrative stories, right? I heard players who told me that they wish the game had more cutscenes, right? More events, more goals and missions, so that they know what their aim is for. And I think a lot of those players maybe come from the Warhammer 2 universe, where each campaign faction has this unique narrative that's pushing you through, and you're trying to do your own thing. Now, of course, with Three Kingdoms, that might be slightly difficult, because at the end of the day, you're rewriting history to try to become the winner of the Three Kingdom, not just do what you did historically. But perhaps they're going to try to incorporate more of that to focus on kind of character development in terms of the narrative, just so that, new players, when you start out a faction, new players to the genre, to the time period historically, might not know anything about the character and may be guided through more storytelling, whether through art, whether through just missions in the game, will make them more attached to their faction. Because right now, you open up any campaign, it's the same. You're trying to expand, you're trying to, rank up, you become one of the empire, or like one of 3 kingdoms, and then you just try to combine everything into one big empire and you win the game. So that might be a big change we see. And also, I think, obviously, the next DLC that we were expecting to come out was going to be the Northern Expansion Pack, which also explains why we had the mountain change on patch 1.7, because that was originally scheduled for the expansion pack, which everyone was waiting for nomads joining the game. And I think at the end of the day, they either ran into, design issues, or, this is pure speculation, or they just felt like financially the effort to add in the content, it's probably not worth the reward. Especially if I had to guess, I think Fates Divided probably sold the least out of all of their DLCs, because like, even if I would rank it, I think Fates Divided brought in the least value in terms of getting a DLC, because you are essentially picking up a bunch of the thing for free, and the only thing that was really coming with the DLC is Liu Yan as a faction, and the new unique units for Cao Cao and Yuan Shao's faction and the Northern Colonels. And that's it. Everything else was provided for free in the patch. So essentially, if you weren't interested in the 200 start in terms of the setup, which I could imagine many people might not be, since a lot of people are dead by 200, then, it's not going to sell as well. Even though I think the scenario was pretty fun, especially if you're interested in playing as Cao Cao or Yuan Shao in the conflict. But you do start out quite big, so it leads to pretty much a quick campaign. But regardless, I think they just made the calculation that it's probably better to incorporate a bunch of these new things into a new game. And the most unfortunate part about this announcement is that they can't tell us more, because I don't think they know exactly what's more. They pretty much probably made the internal decision among the team, among the company, that they're going to move into pre-production for 2, and they're going to end all DLCs for 1. So they're kind of letting us know. It's a nice thing to do, right? If they don't say this, we're all expecting some sort of August DLC coming out, and then they tell us in August that it's not coming out. We'll be all really sad. So they're kind of just informing us right now that the DLCs are not coming. But the team is staying together. They're basically upgraded internally into a team that's going to be part of this Three Kingdom universe. They're moving on to a sequel, and they're going to probably plan it out, right? They're not going to tell us much because they probably don't know too much. They probably have to plan out what will be included in the base game, how would they like to structure that, what potential DLCs they want to make for the base game. And once they figure that stuff out, I'm sure we'll get more communication. But in the meantime, this also means I can make guides for the game, knowing that it's not going to get patched up. But regardless, it's been a fun 2 years covering Total War 3 Kingdoms, and definitely looking forward to what they have planned up for us in the future. So that's it. Hopefully this cleared up some of your confusions, and see you guys next time. Bye!